Okay, so we have a 1,500 piece puzzle we're going to glue together. I've had prior videos on this which were not very good quality. I think a lot of people still glue puzzles the wrong way, so let me show you the way that we're going to do this. Puzzle is glued together. It is on a piece of parchment paper, a couple of them taped together. Just slide it underneath. You want to do that so the glue doesn't seep out the bottom. For glue, just regular school glue, doesn't matter. Got a couple different partials here. So a couple different ways you can do this. You can put a big gob on there and spread it around, but it tends to bleed a lot more through in the area you put it. So I'm going to try to do a little more zigzagging here with the two of these glue bottles, and we'll see what happens here. If necessary, I'll go back and put more on. This is not critical, just got to get some glue on the face of the puzzle. I'll tell you this is a cheap puzzle. There's a couple issues with cheap puzzles. One is the pieces fit looser. So if you're not careful when you're smearing the glue around, you'll flip the pieces over, then you got to go put them back in place before you can continue. The other issue is the cheap puzzles don't have as good a lamination of the image on the cardboard stock. So if you're not careful, what'll happen is you'll go ahead and you spend a lot of time doing cleanup in the end here, you'll delaminate it. As long as you're done in a few minutes, you should be fine. I use my hands. Again, I gotta be very careful with this puzzle. Kind of start in the middle and work my way out. If I try to scrunch my hands together, it'll ripple up the puzzle and pull it loose. And this is one of the more difficult puzzles I've glued. You just gotta be very careful. And what you want to see is it all white in the lines. You want to squeeze in enough glue that all the puzzle lines are white. Just work your way from one end to the other. Again, be careful squishing or pulling your hands together or you'll bunch it up. If you bunch it up, you'll have to replace all the pieces, which depending on how bad you do it, it may take you a couple minutes. And the more that this glue sits on the surface of your puzzle, the more likely it is that it's going to soften up the image layer and you'll have a delamination concern if you fiddle around too long here. You could use a squeegee as well. I never use a squeegee. You can call it like a Bondo spreader, or there's other things you could use to move the glue around. I find it's easier just to use your hands. Plus you can kind of keep a feel for the pieces that are starting to pull up while you do this. So when this is done, these pieces will be completely locked together. It only takes about half an hour before you can pick the whole thing up like a piece of poster board. Okay, I'll make a last pass. Make sure I don't have any gaps. Make sure all of my gaps are white. I think we're pretty good here. So then I'm going to wash my hands off. Get as much of the glue residue off I can. And I have a damp microfiber cloth. I'm going to run over that now. It's damp, I wrung it out. I'm going to start in the middle and carefully pull outward. Again, do not bunch it together or else you'll create a teepee or whatever you want to call it and you're going to lose all your pieces. Now I have to rinse this off a couple times. You run over it once with a microfiber cloth, rotating it, getting the majority of the glue off, and then I will rinse it off, wring it out again, and do another time. So right now I just want to get most of the white off. I'm not using a ton of pressure, but I do have to work fairly quickly because again, especially after putting the water on here, if you do too much scrubbing, you will loosen up the image. This is probably one of the slower puzzle glues I've done just because this is a cheap puzzle. I gotta really keep an eye on what I'm doing here. Okay, rinse it out. There we go, round two, and this should be it. Work away from the center out. I'm not using a ton of pressure, just trying to be slow and deliberate. And the reason why I wipe the face off, there's some people that will go ahead and glue this thing and then they'll just try to brush it out. But what that does is it puts a layer of dull glue on your surface, and you can see the brush marks too if you're not careful. So this is like if you've ever grouted tile, same type scenario. And I think we're done. Just gonna go over it, make sure I have no other glue pieces that are streaks. And we'll give it about half an hour. Remove it from the paper, flip it over, and when it's face down, we'll put some weights around it to let it dry out flat for maybe a day. And at that point, you can pick it up like a poster board and you're done.